Baby, we are back. We are back. We are back. And Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Football Night in America has a book, Father of Mine, available on Amazon. He also has another book, a sequel, Son of Mine. Both ebooks are available on Amazon today. And we love Mike on the Morning Roast. Of course, you catch him on Football Night in America, Sunday Night Football, Pro Football Talk, NBC. Mike, good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Roast here, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. How you doing today?
Doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing good here. Before we ramp up for Chiefs-Niners, just your quick thoughts about the trade this morning. The Raiders getting a third-round comp pick for Davante Adams, who is clearly unhappy in Las Vegas. He goes to New York City. He already took a physical, for crying out loud, so he probably flew last night on a red eye. Does it make the Jets any better? Does it even mean anything for the New York Jets getting Davante Adams?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that Woody Johnson, the owner of the team, is going to make moves now aimed at making his decision to fire Robert Saleh look better. So it creates the kind of desperation that hadn't been there because the offers hadn't been there. The Raiders wanted a second-round pick. They're only going to get one if Adams is an all-pro this year, which has very little chance of happening, but it's a little face-saver for the Raiders. They still give up the third-round pick. They take on the salary. We haven't seen any reporting yet on how much, if any, the Raiders are going to pay. But this is what you do when you're desperate and you're trying to prove that you did the right thing. And especially after last night when Mike Williams ran the wrong route and Aaron Rodgers called him out after the game. Mike Williams has been unable to win the trust of Aaron Rodgers. So I think he's going to be the odd man out. Whether they trade him, whether they cut him, whatever they do, I think it's going to be Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams, and Alan Lazard as the primary pass catchers. And Williams is either going to be on the bench or he's going to be out the door. And does it make a fringe playoff contender, a clear playoff team? Maybe. Does it allow the Jets to beat the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, or the Texans in the playoffs? Probably not.
I'm looking at the 49ers Chiefs this week, and good morning to you, Mike. And we were thinking about, the Super Bowl. We went through kind of some of the stuff, seeing you at the Super Bowl before the game. And there were so many things that happened in that Super Bowl game. How are you going to remember that particular Super Bowl between Chiefs and Niners?
Well, like every other Chiefs Super Bowl, they're down, they're out, they're losing, and it's just a matter of Patrick Mahomes finding the gas pedal and just in the nick of time getting the win, or in this case, forcing overtime. I just think that sense of wonder that comes from the rare occasion when a Super Bowl game goes to overtime, and now that we have the opportunity for both teams to possess the ball, that strategic decision that Kyle Shanahan made that was criticized about whether or not to take the ball or kick off to start overtime, because you're guaranteed that second possession, even if the team that gets the ball first scores. That's a history maker because it was unprecedented. So that's probably what stands out the most. But, we're used to seeing the Chiefs now in the Super Bowl, and they're 5-0, and it's not going to be easy to beat them. Andy Reid's teams, when they've had a week off to prepare for a game, are always better prepared to go. And, it's game of the weekend, and chance for the 49ers to remind everybody that they're still pretty damn good.
No doubt about that. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk here on the River Islands guest line. Check out his book, Father of Mine, as well as his sequel, Son of Mine. Both ebooks are available right now on Amazon today. I've been diving into Father of Mine, Son of Mine. Got to check that one out as well. Real quick on Brock Purdy, Mike Florio. So far this season, through 6 games, Niners are 3-3, tied for first place in the NFC West. But has he looked like a $60 million per season quarterback to you through the first 6 weeks of the season?
I think he is a guy who does what needs to be done within the confines of the Shanahan offense. Plus, he sprinkles in enough mobility to give you something when there's nothing there. It's not a lot of flash. There's not a lot of panache, but he just gets it done. It's very meat and potatoes, but it's a good meal of meat and potatoes that he's serving up. Now, does that mean it gets him to $60 million a year? I don't know, but he clearly earned a second contract, and they'll replace the final year of his current one most likely after this season with something. It just depends upon what that high-end number is, depends upon how much he wants. And there's a chance that he may not insist on getting a market value deal just because this is a guy who wasn't supposed to do anything when Tony Romo did his first contract with the Cowboys after he emerged as a starter, I remember thinking, he could have gotten more, but for a guy who wasn't supposed to even be there, I think it's easier to not hold out for every last penny. And I do think Purdy is, and I don't want to say he's underrated because everybody's saying he's underrated. Who the hell's saying he's overrated? Because all everybody says is he's underrated. He doesn't get enough credit. All I hear is people saying how much credit he doesn't get. I don't hear anybody not giving him credit. I hear everybody saying he doesn't get enough credit.
Well, I think he's been really good this year. I just think we need to start. I agree with you on the overrated, underrated conversation is like nauseating. I just think he's a really good player. Is he the best quarterback in the league? Probably not. But every single week it feels like the guy plays really good football and doing it without Christian McCaffrey and one week doing it without Debo. And I don't know. I feel like he's made a lot of plays this year. And I think he's, if they can get their season back here and win the next couple of games before the break, I think you're going to start hearing his name in the mix for MVP. Because that feels up in the air, too.
Well, the way MVP works, and I say this every year, and it's proven every year, but I feel like nobody pays attention, which is fine. I'm used to having no one pay attention to me. The one seed in both conferences will produce the finalist for MVP. It's going to be a quarterback from the one seed in the AFC or the NFC, unless somebody does something historic, record-setting, etc. That has held since 2013. In 2012, Adrian Peterson almost set the single-season rushing record, and he won MVP by a nose over Peyton Manning. Since then, it's been the quarterback of a team that wins a bye. And now that there's only one bye available, it's become the quarterback of the one seed in the AFC or the one seed in the NFC. So if the 49ers take the one seed, Purdy's an MVP finalist. If the Lions do, it's Jared Goff. If the Vikings do, it's Sam Darnold. If the Commanders do, it's Jaden Daniels. And it'll come down to whoever the quarterback of the one seed is in the NFC versus whoever the quarterback of the one seed is in the AFC. That's just the way the dust settles on this each and every year.
Could the Baltimore Ravens, as a 2 or 3 seed, produce an MVP in Lamar Jackson? Because, Mike, I'm not sure there's anybody playing better than Lamar Jackson right now for the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, and he could, because you have to look at how well the quarterback of the one seed plays and how did that team win the one seed. And was it because of the quarterback or was it because of other things? I mean, if the Bills end up with the one seed in the AFC, how is it not Josh Allen when he's got no help around him? Lamar Jackson has Derrick Henry and a pretty good cast of receivers, both young and older, and Mark Andrews and a great tight end room. So I think it depends on who the quarterback of the one seed is. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, hell, the Ravens could be the one seed again. They're 4-2, but it feels like they're one of the best teams in the NFL right now.
I look at this, Mike, and you are like me. You consume all of this stuff. Bonte and I were having a conversation off air regarding Bill Belichick is just so good on TV. And we kind of we talked about this in the summer. Like I'm like, dude, the guy's got a great personality. When he did the Saban thing on TV, it was brilliant. When he's talking about old school NFL, it's brilliant. I think he's funnier than we all gave him credit for. But do you think he gets back into coaching? Because I'm doing this little power ranking every single week. I call it the BBB, the Bill Belichick Big Board, where there's 5 teams in the league I think he should or could go to. Do you see him coming back? And if so, who would be at the top of this big board for Mike Florio for Bill Belichick returning?
Well, if the Jets are on your list, go ahead and cross them off after what he said last night about Woody Johnson. Not that they should have been on your list anyway.
How great was that? How great was that?
The Jets hate him.
How great was that, Mike? Him just ripping the Jets.
He does that Let's Go podcast, and he said something about Woody Johnson that was mostly diplomatic, and then he's on the Manning cast, and he says it's the owner being the owner, ready, fire, aim, which gets back to making this trade for Davante Adams as a reaction to last night's loss. I think the first factor is, will the fan base accept him? Because at the end of the day, it's an entertainment business. It's about getting people to renew season tickets, get excited, watch the team on TV, want to follow the team, want to feel good about the team. He's going to be 73 by next year, and he's got that curmudgeonly trait. I think this is one of the reasons why he's doing so much media, so he can change how people view him in the hopes that there will be a fan base saying, we want him. At one point last November, after the Patriots lost to the Colts in Germany, and it looked like this thing was heading toward a divorce between New England and Belichick, we posted on Twitter, very simple question. if your favorite team's looking for a coach this offseason, do you want Bill Belichick, yes or no? And it was 3-1. And I know it's not scientific, but 3-1 is pretty telling. They didn't want him. And then on top of that, the owner is going to have to be comfortable either throwing him the keys to the car or putting him in a structure where he's not the coach, or he is the coach, excuse me. He's not the GM. He's got to work with the GM, maybe literally half his age, depending upon who the GM is, and defer to that GM without upsetting the apple cart. Is an owner willing to do it? Arthur Blank wasn't willing to do it in Atlanta because there were people there who were concerned about what Bill Belichick's presence would mean to their job. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. How much money is he going to be paid? What are his titles going to be? How long is he going to do it? And ultimately, does he want to go there? I think the Giants would be at the top of his list. Beyond that, I don't know. I did an item a few weeks ago of the teams that I think are in the mix for Bill Belichick. And I still would keep an eye on the possibility that there isn't one this year. He went 1 for 7 in interviews last year. I don't know why we assume he's just going to have the red carpet rolled out for him this year.
Philadelphia, Sirianni. That feels like a divorce, doesn't it, Mike?
Well, I just think it's embarrassing and it's unbecoming for a head coach to get into it with fans ever. It's basically a half click away from Rex Ryan when he gave the fans the finger years ago. You can't behave that way for 2 reasons. Number one, it's a horrible look. You have to understand this is part of the life you've chosen. You're going to get criticized when things go poorly. You're going to get fired if things go poorly long enough. That's how it goes. It's one of the reasons why you get paid that much money. It's one of the reasons why that much money is available to be paid to coaches, because people give a crap about it. The same passion that gets them to give you a hard time during the game is the passion that allows you to be highly compensated to do the job. And he better turn it around, because the other thing, too, is when you do that, and I'm assuming he was jawing with some Eagles fans who weren't happy, not Browns fans who had given him crap earlier in the game, they're going to be losing at some point at home. And those same fans, if they're season ticket holders, are going to be there. And he's going to hear it then. And he's just got to learn how to control himself, because if he doesn't win, this is just one of those things that makes it easier to say, I need to move on from this guy. If you're on the fence, it can become the factor that makes the difference between keeping him and getting rid of him.
Would Howie Roseman, Belichick, and their owner, would that work? Jeffrey Lurie?
Jeffrey Lurie.
Well, I think there's a lot of mutual respect between Lurie and Roseman and Belichick. The question is, and Roseman, when Chip Kelly was there, he basically got exiled from the football building and survived and thrived and is now the guy who's the right-hand man for owner Jeffrey Lurie. So I don't know that they'd be comfortable doing that. I look at both the Cowboys and the Eagles and say, well, why didn't they do it last year? They're thinking about doing it now. Why didn't they just fire their guys after embarrassing playoff losses and hire Belichick right away? So it'll be somebody other than Nick Sirianni if they don't turn this thing around. I don't know that it'll ultimately be Belichick. And again, the Giants may get into this too. The Giants may say, hey, we're going to be boxing out the Cowboys and the Eagles, or dealing with the Cowboys and the Eagles. If they get this guy, let's box them out and try to get Belichick, because when the story came out several years ago about the dysfunction with Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo and Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, it was a long item from Seth Wickersham of ESPN.com. Gary Myers, who was working, I think at the time, for the New York Daily News, said that Belichick would like to coach the Giants. And that's always been the place where he's had, the soft spot. So I can see the Giants, if they don't turn this around, I can see the Giants saying, let's just get this guy. This is our chance. And we'd rather have him than have to compete with him. Because here's the reality. Regardless of the personnel flaws, he's a great game day coach. He's great at details. Every Tuesday we have Devin McCourty on PFT Live. And every week we end up with some other tangible example of what Bill Belichick has done in the past to get a team as ready as it can be to go out and win on Sunday. And it's impressive. So that fact alone may be the thing that gets him a job somewhere.
Yeah. Mike, I'm looking around the league. We know it's a quarterback league, right? I mean, you've got guys like Bryce Young that are just getting iced out. Anthony Richardson's going to, I guess, get his job back, even though To me, it's pretty clear Flacco moves the ball better for that team and would be really good on about a dozen teams. And then you got this rookie class right now showing a lot of promise. Caleb, Jaden Daniels. I mean, even Drake May showed something.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, 27 points in the second quarter. And Bo Nix has been up and down, but just quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks in the league, there is just a lot going on. Some failures, some success. What's the most intriguing to you when you look at the young quarterbacks throughout the NFL?
Well, look, Jaden Daniels has emerged as the early offensive rookie of the year favorite, but it's funny how with Caleb Williams of the Bears, a lot of hype before the season, a lot of hype in the preseason, a couple of lackluster performances out of the gates, and we moved on. And now 3 straight wins, and we're starting to say, maybe they got something. Maybe the Bears got something, and maybe this guy's going to be pretty good after all, but the hype got muted because after they lost to the Texans week 2 and the offense looked pathetic, we just kind of wrote him off. That's what we tend to do as fans, as media. Yeah. We write people off, and then we don't want to write them back in.
No, that's so true, Mike. It's so true. And Caleb has gotten better every single game. We did a game against the Jaguars. I know they're a dumpster fire, and Doug Peterson may be on the way out, but Caleb has gotten better every single week. Before we let you go, did you hear what went on with Jerry Jones and 105.3 The Fan in Dallas?
I was working on that just before we got started. I was listening to all of it, and I saw a partial transcript. I wanted to hear it for myself, and it doesn't surprise me. Look, this guy does 2 radio spots a week. He makes himself available to reporters after every game. At some point during those 3 occasions per week that the owner of the team talks to the media, he's gonna short circuit a little bit. He's gonna let him have it. So it doesn't surprise me. And I saw somebody complain over the weekend that the media shouldn't be party to this, that what we're supposed to do, if he's going to talk, we should just say, no, we're not interested. Owners don't talk nearly enough. We should never complain that owners talk too much. But, yeah, sometimes they're going to get a little pissed off.
Well, he should be after that shellacking at the heads of the Detroit Lions. By the way, Detroit still one of the top teams in the NFC without Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, what a
how massive is that?
Absolutely, yeah. What a machine. I had a former head coach text me on Sunday after the Lions game, and I think it was actually during the Lions game. Ben Johnson is the best offensive mind in the NFL right now, and the number 2 might be distant. And I know that Kyle Shanahan fans could bristle at that, but what the Lions are doing and the creativity, and I was just surprised they kept using the trick plays, the hook and ladder to Penei Sewell. Yeah, save some of those for later, but the other argument is go ahead and let everybody know they're out there, because the possibility that's going to happen, that's the kind of thing that can just keep you on your heels just enough so that the base offense works even better.
You know, was Ben Johnson smart? Shasky and I discussed this. All these coordinators take jobs right away. They become the new hot shot on the block. Their name gets hot. They get a job, and you may go to somewhere like Carolina, and it's like, well, actually, that may be career suicide if you take a job like that. Ben Johnson, one of the few coordinators that I can recall, Mike, that said, you know what, I'm going to stay in Detroit another year, and he's going to have a plethora of opportunities, plethora of options to go get a job somewhere. And it may be a Dallas Cowboys, maybe the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe the Giants. Ben Johnson did something that a lot of coordinators don't necessarily do, Mike.
Well, and here's the balance you have to strike. The window is open. The iron is hot. What do you do? Because there's no guarantee the window is going to be open the next year. And the best example of that, Byron Leftwich. He went from surefire, just a matter of time, NFL head coach. I don't even know where he is now. I literally don't know where he is. Once things dried up for him in Tampa, he's gone. He's done. And he was on the verge of being the Jaguars head coach after Urban Meyer. So it can, you can go from being the flavor of the month to spoiled milk quickly. And that's the balance. And Ben Johnson obviously had the confidence that he was going to continue to get opportunities. It helps to have a really good team.
Yep.
As Dick Vermeil said when they put him in the Hall of Fame, he became a pretty smart coach once he had Marshall Faulk as his running back.
That's a great call. Hey, Mike, you're a good sport. We love having you on, man, and we love hearing all your insights. Let me ask you this one, though. Last one on the way out the door. What would it mean for the NFL if the Niners did come out and put it on the Chiefs this weekend? Because most people are saying, hey, if you win, it's like you're winning by like a field goal or a point or two here and there. But if they came out and they really thumped Kansas City, what would that mean?
Well, I think it would remind everyone of the fact that the Chiefs are kind of a phony 5-0. You look at their performances, you look at their games, they keep finding a way to win, which is what they do in the postseason pretty much all the time. But it would be a reminder that most of the time the Chiefs have to scratch and claw and fight for everything they get. And the 49ers are good enough to do it. You know, the 49ers are just kind of hanging around. I thought for a while this was tracking like 2020, where it's just going to be a disaster of a season. They're in position to make a run, especially if they get Christian McCaffrey back and things settle down a little bit. And you look at the rest of the NFC, I mean, really, is there, other than the Lions, is there really a team that you look at and say, man, we'd really be concerned? I know that the Vikings beat the 49ers, but I think in a rematch it would be a different story. In a single elimination setting, it would definitely be a different story. I just think it's the 49ers and the Lions, and the 49ers aren't nearly as far away as some might think.
I don't disagree with that, but Mike, weren't you a Vikings fan growing up?
Yeah, I was, unfortunately.
So
it was a long decade of the 70s, that's for sure.
So I've got some buddies who are Viking fans. That's just a Viking fan. They just say that everything always goes bad for the Minnesota Vikings when it counts.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll happen. It'll happen, and that's why the thing that I try to do every year, and there's still that little part of me that's a fan. I'm not going to act like it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my work, obviously.
No doubt.
But, yeah, every time – because what happens is when they have a season, a rare special season, it kind of rewinds the clock to when I was growing up and living with my parents, and it brings all those memories back of when they were great every year. But also that sense of eventually something is going to go spectacularly wrong. And when you least expect it is when it's going to get you. And if you ever get to the point where you tell yourself, maybe this is the year the spectacularly wrong thing isn't going to happen, that's when it happens.
We shall see. Mike, always good to hear from you, brother. Let's do it again soon, all right?
Thanks, guys.
Anytime. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, good. Football Night in America on NBC. His book, Father of Mine, available on Amazon. And the sequel's already out, Son of Mine. Both ebooks, are available on Amazon today.